You're the king and queen of your arena, and you can dictate the terms. You can literally climb to the highest rung on the ladder. Yes, 5 years, not 10, not 15, not 20. It's not that I'm impatient. It's that if you can't show me how to become successful in 5 years or less, it's too slow of a path.
So Kris, I come from a film background, and a lot of people when they're getting into media or film or working with video, the question comes up a lot. And I think it comes up in a lot of fields on top of this. But the question is, do I go deep or do I go wide? Should I become like the best video editor? Or should I be like an okay editor, but I can also shoot, but I can also direct, but I can also color and do a myriad of stuff? Career advice for people out there.
Dude, that applies to every freaking career on the planet.
Right.
Do you go wide or deep?
Or do you go wide?
Yeah. So I think the question is, do you become a master of a trade or do you become a jack of all trades?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Master of none.
Master of none.
So I don't know if I've met too many rich handymen.
Okay. End podcast.
Right. Think about it for a minute. Think about it. In my life, I developed my Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours in sales. That's what I did when I was in college while I was learning real estate. And I really mastered sales and real estate kind of at the same time. And so I had a chance to go deep on both of these things. When I went deep on sales, it meant that my career went through the roof and I walked away from a really great 6-figure job. And not many people would walk from a 6-figure job working 32 hours a week that frankly became super easy for them. But the reason why I did is because I also mastered the game of investing with real estate. And I was doubling my portfolio now, tripling my portfolio every single year. And I was learning about passive income. And so while going deep on my career meant that my time was made more valuable, I went super deep on a different track that was all about reclaiming my time. So you could say that my life started with pursuing depth in 2 specific areas. How do I make my time invaluable? And how do I then get it back? And because I mastered both of those, 4.5 years later when I graduated college, I also graduated from my job. I fired my boss, I said goodbye. And because I was making all my money from passive real estate, doubling my portfolio didn't take a ton of time, but it ignited even more income. Sales ended up actually bleeding powerfully into what I was experiencing with real estate because sometimes people don't succeed at real estate because they're scared to talk to a person. Well, selling will definitely help you overcome rejection, right? And I didn't stop there. Then I was like, it'd be kind of cool to like teach other people about what I've learned because I had these strangers that would knock on my door and like, dude, Kris, how did you, and it would always start off the same way. This is when cell phones were relatively new. Someone would get my number and they're like, hi, is this Kris Krohn? I'm like, uh-huh. And they're like, yeah, my name is such and such. And I heard that you have had great success in real estate. And my first thought was always, how'd you get my number? And they never wanted to tell me. Or they would knock on my door and it'd be the same thing. A stranger would regularly knock on my door. And I'm like, geez, I get that I figured this out. I was at that time trying to figure out my calling in life because I didn't need to work. And I started helping a couple of individuals. And as I did, I found joy from it. So I'm like, oh, maybe I'm an educator. Ironic that when I was in college, I pursued education. I'm like, I can't do that. There's no way I'll be able to take care of my family, but I'm good at it. I think I have natural leanings towards it. So what I did is I became an educator financially. As I was building my portfolio as a doer, I started putting on seminars, which by the way, I sucked pretty good at in the beginning. I'll never forget my very first one. I'm in a crowd of like 70, 80 people, packed the house, never done one before. And I was so nervous. I was dyslexic. I was saying things like there wasn't a sky in the cloud instead of there wasn't a cloud in the sky. And I didn't even know it. People were chuckling and I was getting like embarrassed and I was kind of chubby and pencil necked and skinny fat, and people are just like, everything about it was just so awkward. I sucked. But 100 presentations later and a couple of experts down the road, I started going for depth mastery and I started getting pretty talented. By the time I had done my 1,000th presentation, there's people that wanted to come back and listen to me just because they wanted to witness me. Mm-hmm. They just wanted to be in my airspace and they wanted to feel the charisma, the passion, the art of the storytelling, the way that I could move hearts and minds. Well, now I had three depths. I had depth in sales, depth as a stage educator, and then I also had depth in my real estate game. That was just the beginning of like going deep on a number of different things. So when you say deep or wide, I'm like, it depends.
You're like jack of all trades,
Not
master of them all.
yes, but one at a time for the most part.
Oh, gotcha.
Like I'm learning these skills one at a time. Like I've learned the art of business, accounting, P&Ls. I avoided it. I was never going to master it unless I stepped up to actually learn it. My body, at some point, I had to take command over my body. I hired many mentors. I did my very first stage show. I've done 2 of them now. I got a medal right now that says second place from, which meant that I wasn't first, but I think next year I could be, right? I'm still on a journey there, but now I have health channels. I'm teaching and I'm inspiring people. I help 2 of our employees lose 100 pounds each, more or less. I have a passion for this thing. I know how to manipulate the body. I could sit down with any person and literally, after spending 10 minutes with them, tell them exactly the plan to create whatever body they wanted after accepting the one that they have. Breakthroughs. I went crazy deep.
Yeah.
I spent millions of dollars and a decade of my life, the first half of it, on mentors, men and women that were really gifted at this idea of belief breakthrough. Having like these life-changing conversations over and over and over again created so much acceleration for me until I got good enough at it that I started doing it for other people. And then for 4 years, I ran a seminar company. And during those 4 years, I had thousands of stage breakthroughs that I did doing interventions, as Tony Robbins would call it. These breakthroughs for people. Wrote a book about it called Limitless. So I'm the student. I graduate where I start teaching and educating. Then I master that game. Then I write books about it. And basically, I get to a point where I haven't learned anything new on breakthrough for years. But at a moment's notice, like this morning with you and I can call upon it and boom, I'm right there ready to have that conversation. So I would love to acquire 100 skills in my life because I love growing.
So how do you do it? Because most people feel like they do not have the time to go deep and wide.
Well, I think that it starts with depth. And then after you figured out depth once, do it again. When you've done it 3 times, if they're neighbors to each other and you start layering them, you're going to graduate to what I call freak of nature. You will be an anomaly. You'll be something that people don't understand. When you've done it 10 times, now you're 1 in millions of people. I've done it 17. I'm still on my way. I'm developing 3 new specialties right now. And I believe in my lifetime, I will get to see the day that I'm 1 in a billion. Because I will be one of the most fascinating, unique human beings on the planet because of my level of expertise in so many different fields. Now, I get joy from that. I enjoy that. So it's always go deep if you want to have greater career success. And then if you can go deep 2 or 3 times, your career success can absolutely explode. And that's what width then absolutely looks like. Is width should only be a byproduct of how many depths you've achieved.
So let's just take an example. We've got a guy or girl that's going into college and they're wondering, do I get a smattering of a lot of different things, or you think they pick one thing and go deep on it and gain mastery?
When you go into business for yourself, different question. When you go into business for yourself, you have to make a choice. Am I going to be like a basic competitor against other people, or am I going to be the best? My belief is that if you're not going to be the best, you shouldn't be in business. You shouldn't be looking to have some of the market share. You should have a unique selling proposition, something that defines you, an X factor that separates you from everyone else. And then you need a marketing plan and system to dominate the market and subjugate everyone else to how good you are as a company. And you can only be the best by being either the cheapest, the fastest, or having the highest quality product. You can have at most 2 of those 3. You can't have all 3. So to the person in college, it's like, well, should I learn a variety of different things? Should I specialize? I'm like, specialize, baby. Go as deep as you can. Be the best in your space. Be the most unique. Offer something that no one else is in your space. I see this happen, by the way, all the time with chiropractors. Mm-hmm. Chiropractors, there's so many different art forms of being a chiropractor, and they all seem to tie in odd different modalities that separate them and make them different from everybody else.
Yeah.
And they understand the concept of specialization. Or if you're going to be a heart surgeon, be the very best heart surgeon. If you're going to do something, ask, what will give me a competitive edge over everyone else so that it becomes easy for other people to decide that I'm who they want to work with, or know that I'm not the person that they want to work with. For me, the answer is always going to be depth, 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 depth.
Let me pivot the question a little bit. Is it possible to go deep on something that you're not passionate about?
I wish I knew who to give credit to on this, because I have these two opposing thoughts that have impacted my response. Years ago, one was Robert Kiyosaki saying, beware passion, because it can delude you into going down the wrong path.
Yeah.
Because a passion can lead you to be more passionate about your product or service, for example, in a game of money or business, than actually where it should be, which is with the experience that your customers are having, your clients. And so passion, I think, is like a two-edged sword. It can be really good or it can be really, really bad. Obviously bad if it's a distraction, and really good if it keeps you on point and focused. But I heard it from another individual that said that passion often presents itself only after you've taken a challenge, something hard, and have figured out how to do it when so many have failed. Passion, like I look at my passion for speaking, and it's like, yeah, I know what I can do with people. I know how to produce. I can produce a life-changing experience with someone one-on-one like that. Breakthrough. I get passionate about it when I can use it the right way. Do you know how hard it was to learn that skill? Do you know how long it takes to count to 1,000, but let alone do 1,000 presentations? Or what it is to literally buy hundreds of homes, still make mistakes, and then finally revel in the beauty of finding a system that is infallible regardless of market timing? I'm a passionate person. But if people knew me in the beginning, they wouldn't see that. I think passion truly has been bred from developing, going deep on an ability that not a lot of other people really succeed at. So I don't know how that answers your question, but those are the two thoughts.
So let's wrap this up with this final question, Kris. Where would you be today if sales wasn't the first vertical that you went deep on?
This is an interesting question. Where should a person start?
Yeah.
Sequence ultimately leads to success. And if you do the right thing out of step, the right thing can become very quickly the very, very wrong thing. And so people should become obsessed with, where does this belong? When I go to my intuition, I ask a question, should I do this? And the gut says yes. My very next question is always when. Because if I do the right thing at the wrong time, it's not the right thing anymore.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, maybe I got lucky. I mean, I'm 42 and I've achieved so much and I feel super, super, super blessed. And the sequence makes sense.
Yeah.
Selling helped me figure out real estate. Real estate gave me an expertise to speak about from stage with really cool stories.
Give you your time
led
back,
to
man.
business, led to so much, the time back to be able to invest in it. So, I mean, ultimately for anyone who's looking for career advice, this is going to sound a little strange. Go deep so you can get out. Go deep though, so that you're so good that your time is so valuable that you can extricate yourself and still have benefit and add value without trading your time in a horrible time arbitrage game. Go deep to get good. Most people, I think, actually do this, but the wrong way. Well, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to learn a skill and then I'm going to go deep by working for someone else for 40 years and then I'll retire. I'm like, no, that's not what I mean. I mean so good that within 5 years, you're the king and queen of your arena and you can dictate the terms. You can literally climb to the highest rung on the ladder. Yes, 5 years, not 10, not 15, not 20. It's not that I'm impatient. It's that if you can't show me how to become successful in 5 years or less, it's too slow of a path. And I want to share one last thing. It is not always 10,000 Malcolm Gladwell hours. I think Malcolm Gladwell meant it's 10,000 hours if you're reading books, if you're thinking, if you're trying and failing. You get with an expert. And I've been able to truncate 10,000 hours into 1,000 and less. Think about learning a language. I learned German by living in Germany, full immersion, not Rosetta Stone. Like I was there living it. So I became fluent within 6 months. I've been told, I don't know, that when it's time to learn another language that you can learn a lot faster because you don't just learn a language, you learn how to learn a language.
Yes.
Right? So you get acceleration. Right now, I have acceleration from 17 different things. It makes me a uniquely bizarre human being. And sometimes when I'm doing an acquisition, someone will fly in town and we're looking at doing business together and striking up a deal. And if I have a day with them, they're going to see Kris Krohn, the intervention guy. They're going to see Kris Krohn, the passionate, the speaker. They're going to see Kris Krohn, the author. They're going to see Kris Krohn with now width in so many levels of expertise. And that makes me a truly unique person. This podcast really should be titled, How to Become One of the Most Unique Versions of You on the Planet. so that you can dominate and win in every way possible.
We were going to go with that title actually,
Cool.
and then we decided it's a little
Unsearchable.
wordy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go.